just copy and paste this. And while I'm doing this, I have to ask myself if I should move these. If I should put this somewhere else. Make this as short as possible, make that as long as possible. Is there any reason why I put this right here? I don't think so. Will a 242 train fit there? Yes, it will. And that is what I want. Perfect. There is the new template. In the future, that will get moved. I need to go over here and see if this train, Lycom's train, has arrived. You're not Lycom's train. You can go away. I don't see a need for any of this other stuff. Select them. You can go back just in case I need you in the future. Want you to be fully stocked. That would have come from an errant blueprint. You were just belt. Belt has a stack size of 100. You're already set up. You go away, and now you're unhappy. Do I have a train of belts that I need to update? Nope. Okay. Good. Am I going to need a train of belts? Who else in this is going to use belts? Nobody. All right, so this one's done. Not a heavy load on this, so I shouldn't need. That's not what I wanted to do. But I guess it'll work out just the same. Take this and come here. You probably have the wrong names now. Yeah, you do. I think I'm going to put this as the template name up there and then just hope I don't screw it up, but I don't want to do that. So let's get to work on this one. Step 1 is to save off what I've already got. Step 2 is to do some deletes of some stuff and things. Step 3 is to figure out what type of loader this is. This is a 2-belt loader, A and B solid. So come over here and grab the template for a 2-belt loader. Place it down, let it finish. I think this is a mistake to leave these in. I am just wasting resources. So friend you, you're an empty template. When I do it here, I know that I'm not adding more. The 0, I'll leave them, but the other ones, there's no value in having these here. Actually costs me a little bit, and I don't want to do that. This one is actually 0. Distraction aside, I need 2 generic unloaders. This is red science, which takes 200 in a stack. And this is research red science. And then this is copper plate. This is my first copper plate usage. Copper plate stacks to 100. I want the color of the locomotive, so I can paste that into the station. Give the station its new name, which is copper plate unloader. And then we're done with this. So I'm going to delete this because I'm done with it. I'm going to delete this because I'm done with it. This is a gear unloader, which I think I have a gear unloader right here. I do. So you just become like that. And you're done. Then there's the matter of fuel. So we're redoing our fuel train while we're here. It gives me an opportunity to store a train and have the fuel train come here. Good. That's what happened there. This is belt. These are inserters. These are all full. Kind of hard to get rid of extra inserters when all the places you would dump them are full of inserters. Now let's go fix gears. And I should not have walked. But anyhow, I did. Now gears is different because gears is going to have a second unloader. Or a second loader. And it's an inverse loader. I totally did not want you building that, you pricks. Now that. So save that off. Why are these still here? I hope that's not a bug. I'll check it later. Good. This is a loader with all of them. Because we're double passing. So let's grab a 4-belt template. Solid. Good. It is gears, and gears have a stack size of 100, so we're good there. I think I've already set your color. Oh, I didn't. What's your color? Really? Our gears really 150, 150, 150. No, they're not. No, they're not. So let's do this. Research. Gears. Loader. Color. 92, 95, 96. There. This is a belt unloader. I just need 4 of these. What don't I have? Lamps? Really? After all this? I did not think I would be using extra lamps, but I guess I am. Alright, which train can bring me lamps? I guess I'll go do steel next. I'll go do green. No, I'm going to come down here and do pipe next. So whoever has lamps can bring them down to pipe. Yep, that's you. Now this is gears. Gears are all iron, and I happen to know that I have an iron unloader right here. So I'll just grab this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and delete the extra. Now, you're a research iron. Yeah, okay, we're all set. I think we're all done here, right? Train on its way to pipe. So I don't want to get myself in the way of that. That's funny. All right, let's do this again. Oh, I forgot to do the other half of that gear. Turn off my bots. And it's quite the special problem because it's got the gears. It's got the loader upside down. Something I have not worked with before on this. So let's get a copy of this. And then see if we can figure this out. How do I transpose this up there? So those are all going to go away. And then I need to move all of this up there. And then reconnect it somehow. think I missed something here. Nope, guess not. Okay. So all of this needs to be flipped. And then the only thing that's a collision is that lamp, which I don't care about. But what about my connections here? No, I think that works. So if I take this and I put it here, I should have no collisions. Except I've got to get rid of these. I'm going to take this and I'm going to genericize it. And then paste it up there and capture this blueprint, because this is basically a same-sided belt loader. And I will create a same-sided fluid loader. This is generic chest. And that's what this was. I don't know what the eye here is for. $11.08. And then I can do the same thing with the fluid loader. I've got a template for this here. That's the unloader. This is the fluid loader. Good. Now I do the same thing. I just copy this, put it here, change this to be a tank, change this, just one of you, to be a tank. Hi, Kanoda. Welcome. I hope you're having a good day. I am updating blueprints. And, yeah, actually, I'm updating loading stations and unloading stations for a new configuration that I've developed for controlling dynamic trains, because I kind of screwed that up in the first build, so we'll see how it goes here. So I've got these redone, and I'm renaming stations. I'm doing little tweaks, but basically I have to rip out every combinator and replace it with a new expanded combinator set. So yeah, had a few problems. Got to reprogram a bunch of trains. This is going to be for a future version of Gears, because I'm pretty certain I'm going to need it. And if not Gears, then somebody else. Yeah, the problems I was having is that the unloader trains were being called in even though they didn't have room to fully unload a train. So this will hopefully address that. But I've had to add another set of combinators, which I am not at all happy about. Owen, you and I are on the same page, Owen. I've said that many times. Yeah, this is kind of a. I should just delete all of this because I shouldn't even have this here. I thought I was going to put extra gears here, but now I'm not so sure. So it's a stub for something that I might want to put there, but I don't know what. Old train. Well, I'm going to have to build plastic soon, and that's going to suck down some coal. Alright, so the first thing I'm supposed to do is save off these train stations and combinators. And then the second thing I'm supposed to do is delete all of these power poles and combinators. Next, figure out which loader I need here. This is a 4-belt loader. Pipe, yeah, this is a 4-belt loader. So the template for that I'm using is this. So that's a 4-belt loader. This is pipe. Pipe has a stack size of 100, so that's fine. Pipe's color, I have a color. This gets renamed to research pipe. Good. Build variety go up so much. Oh, and yeah, let me finish it and I'll explain it. There are 2 permutations involved here. One is an unloader and one is a loader. They're very similar in concept. The basic premise is I only want a train to come to the station when there is room for the train to do its business, either load or unload. And in addition, I have requirements like I'm only looking at one wagon at a time as an independent entity, and I want to minimize the configuration that I have to do to as few combinators as possible. So when we look at this unloader, for example, this is an iron unloader, right? Because this is pipe that we're making. So these are all the same, but it's pretty straightforward. It starts with this combinator. This iron plate here says my filter inserters are controlled by that. And as you can see here, it goes out on the green wire. And I have an S here of signal 100 and a red red color. Right? So S is the stack size. So I have all the configuration is done here, and it's done here in that I changed the name of the station. I'm localizing it by putting the research symbol in front, but ideally this wouldn't be necessary, and they would all just sort of filters, and yes, they do. And unfortunately, if there's multiple items in here, they will get confused. So, or if it goes to 0, if this value goes to 0, they shut off. So these things, these filter inserters are all on the green circuit. So, and that's the only circuit that it's on. And they are set to set filters. So that's how that knows it. They're supposed to be overriding the stack size to 8, but I must have missed that. Second, I want to be able to call 2 trains. I've got a stacker here. I have to be able to call 2 trains because in the dynamic of here's the iron loader and it's got a stacker, and here's the iron unloader and it's got a stacker. If both of them don't have stackers and both of them don't have the ability to call more than 1 train, what will happen is that the 2 trains will sit at the stations, at their respective stations, which both have a train limit of 1 of 1. And they will both go, oh, you move. When you move, I can go there. And then the other one goes, well, when you move, I can go there. So it's the old chipmunk thing of, oh, no, after you. Oh, no, after you. And so they get stuck. So I have to have a way to tell both stations, A, to have a stacker, and B, to request more than one train so that I can request a replacement train for the train that's currently here. So those are the overarching philosophies. I have to have two, possibly. Yeah, I've unfortunately run into it, even on this playthrough. I put one too many train on the network. I'll explain that in a moment, Owen. So this combinator balances the unloading of these chests. It's taking the average of the contents of the chests, and then this inserter is keyed to this chest, and it says, if what's inside of this chest is more than the average of the other three chests, then you unload onto the belt. So when you look at this one, we have 96 here, and we have 32 here. So this one unloaded more than this one did. So this inserter is shut off. So that helps these chests stay relatively even, which helps the trains across the trains stay relatively even. If I were doing multiple trains, I would have one of these averagers across all of my trains. But I designed this to be linear. This is independent. Right? I don't have balancers in between. I'm using the trains as my balancers. Just int. If you want to do percentages, you've got to multiply by 100 and then do your division. These two things here are confusing in that they seem backwards. So the first thing is I want to say call the train when there's room for a train to unload. Because iron stacks to 100 and a wagon 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, right? So for an iron train, a wagon can support 4,000. And so this thing is told that when you have less than 4,000, call a train. And that's, now that I think about it, that's kind of backwards, but it's going to call a second train. These ones and twos, I got tired when I was doing this last night, and I messed up the numbers, and it's too late. This one is triggering off of 8,000. So imagine the 1 and the 2 here are backwards, but anyways. So what this is essentially doing is it's saying if everything that you have... Well, thank you, Owen. Well, I'll show you why. The only way it works is with the extra locomotives. This combinator will fire when these chests have less than 8,000 in them. So essentially what this is saying is that as this thing runs low, right, if this has less than 4,000, it's going to call a train. If it has less than 8,000, it's going to call 2 trains. And considering there's 4 of these chests, I can essentially hold 4 trains worth of storage here. So when they get half full, call a train. Or half empty, call a train. When they get 3/4 or 3/4 empty, call 2 trains. Or something like that. Alright. And these are what do these two calculate. Yeah, exactly. I like round numbers. Colonel Will does it differently. He uses this as his indicator. But I have it. I can't say what I'm doing is the best way to do it. What I should be doing is that I should be doing some more math, and I should be saying, as soon as there's room for 4,000 in here, call a train. And as soon as there's room for 8,000, call 2 trains. And as soon as there's room for 12,000, call 3 trains. Right? Because that's what I should be doing, is looking at the maximum available, subtracting how much a train could hold, a wagon could hold, and then bring that many. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm running a risk of running out of stuff But this is my first iteration at this dynamic train with multiple requesters, and I don't like having all these combinators. I can assure you that I wish I had less combinators to make this happen, but it's baby steps for me. I'm moving forward from what I can figure out to what I want to what I can do. So this isn't optimal in terms of an unloading setup, but I'm also not going to go to LTN. So these two combinators figure out what my max is. Yeah, I'm hopeful that new combinators will be nice. For one train, my stack size is 40 because that's how much a wagon can hold is 40. And then the other one is doubling that. Right? These two figure out when to call one train and when to call two trains. And there's something wrong here. Oh, no, there's not. Okay. Yeah. So the one set of signals puts a D on the network for every one of these wagons that runs out of resources. So if any of these wagons run out of resources, it raises D. It raises a request for a train. And if any of the other ones run out of resources, it raises a request for a train. So in doing so, if, for example, this one column runs low, it'll raise the request for a train. If it runs really low, it'll raise the request for a train. But that's any of these wagons independently can request a train. Now that requires a bit of extra logic. I have send to train, so it is sending signals to the train. Right? So the train that is tied to here, which is this gear train, or this gear train, or one of these. I fixed it already on one of these trains. This one. So imagine that was... all the trains are going to have the same programming, different stations. So the train says, if you're at an unloader and you run out of stuff, leave. Or, if you're at the unloader, you haven't done anything in 5 seconds, and this station is requesting a new train, then leave. And what that means is that while it's in the process of unloading, if it runs out, cool, normal stuff. But the second half of this clause says, if any station is run out of resources, then I is going to be greater than 0. And if no other station meaning wagon, if any wagon has run out of resources, and no other wagon is unloading, then leave. Because in my testing, I found situations where the unloaders, where one of them would have like half full and the others would be empty. And so this conditioning clause prevents that. Well, I couldn't think of another way to fix that problem. Because what do you do when one of these doesn't fully process? Like maybe I've got a belt that's wrong, or maybe it's unloaded at the other end. Well, I'm not trying to make it even between columns. I'm just trying to make sure that if one of them gets stuffed up, the whole network doesn't get screwed. So, that's the unloader side. The loader side is the exact same thing, but in reverse. If it's not looking for less than, it's looking for greater than. So if you have more than 4,000, call a train. If you have more than 8,000, call 2 trains. So as this thing fills up, it'll call multiple trains. And I don't have a lot of experience in this either. I'm trying to figure out ways to fix problems that I'm encountering. And these are the problems I'm encountering, and these are the solutions I'm coming up with. And like I just explained, even when it comes to the unloaders, I don't like the solution I've got. And what I'm placing right now is something that is a replacement for something that didn't work that I thought would work. So now it's more complicated than it was a day ago. but I don't have a choice because what I had a day ago wasn't working. Back to the stack, to the column view of how I'm doing these. This locomotive is the key piece here. This locomotive being between these two wagons permits me to do a 5 belt. If you look at this independently, this is a 5 belt beacon build, and it's replaceable. I can do pipes, I can do furnaces, anything. Like was commented earlier, you know, not a fan of how endgame Factorio devolves into a 12 beacon, 1 assembler. Well, this is worse than that. This is 12 beacon, 1 machine. Doesn't matter if it's a chemical plant, centrifuge, furnace, assembler, they all fit in here. And that's kind of the point. It doesn't matter whether I'm feeding it fluids or a hybrid of fluids and solids, or how many solids. It's going to work the same. The key to that is this second unloader. I saw it somewhere in somebody's design and I went, bingo, that's a winner. The assembler automatically distributes evenly between these two unloaders. I don't have to belt balance. It does it for me. And I can reverse this as well so that I can use the same design for research labs too, is that this just becomes a 5th feed. So I can get all 7 items needed for research labs in there. Yeah. And so here's the research labs. The research labs, I turn this output into an input, and then they work off the same design. Yeah. Well, here's military science. Here's grenades, and grenades need iron, and they need coal. So the tricky ones, when you get into triples and quads, like flying robot frames, are some of the more complicated things. And I made a mess because I upgraded things. But I do this little, and what you see here, take this away, and what you see here is it comes in, it's going to come in, split, come around, and then feed from the side. So essentially, I get 4 belt feeding in 2 belt footprint. Yeah, I'll get back up there and clean that up when I get up there to upgrade these combinators. So this design holds true for pipes as well, and even for like robot frames, which need fluid, right? So I've got in my blueprints, I've got every permutation that I could encounter already mapped out. So here's a 4 belt. Here's a chemical plant that brings in count fluids and outputs fluids. And here's a chemical plant that brings in 2 fluids and outputs 1 solid. So I've got all these permutations already worked out. They all use a standard unloader structure, and they just pass things through. The most complicated one I've worked on so far is this, one of the more complicated ones is this sulfuric acid. Because it runs so fast, I have to feed it with 2 belts of sulfur and extra speed on the inserters. Yeah, I would like the descriptions to be monospace, yes. Going back to why this locomotive is so valuable. Because of this being wider than 1 wagon, I can't put wagon. I can't go with an 8 wagon train. But by putting this locomotive in between 2 wagons, what I essentially do is I allow myself to have 4 extra tiles on each wagon, because they can share this locomotive's footprint to have this here. Not really that, but this. So by putting this locomotive in between my wagons, I gained the extra 4 tiles here, and I gained the extra 4 tiles here, which is what lets me put this in the footprint of 2 wagons. It's 2 wagons and 2 halves of 2 locomotives. And this design is tileable, right? I've got 3 locomotives and 4 wagons, and I can just make this train as long as I want. This unloader, I could just extend it out to the east. Yeah, it's a 383 design, right? So I've got 3 pointing one way and 3 pointing the other way, and I've been doing bidirectional trains for a long time, and to be honest, it doesn't matter if you wanted to do this as a 680 train. It's just it's a locomotive, wagon, locomotive. But you could turn these locomotives around and have a single direction train, and it would work just the same. It'd be even faster, but then you'd need to deal with the loops that come with single direction trains. Yeah. That's what I documented here. It is a 1 2 1 2 2 2 1 2 1. But I call it a 383 because that's what it is. So that explains all of that. And like I said, the unloaders are not set up as I want them to be. But that's a matter of fiddling with the numbers and maybe adding one more combinator, because what I really need to know is what's the maximum this thing could hold based on the stack size. Right? And if one of these was completely full, it would hold 4,000, so that would be 16,000. So 16,000 minus 4,000 is 12,000. So when this is at 12,000, I want to call a train. When it's at 8,000, I want to call a second train. And technically, when it's at 4,000, I want to call 3 trains, and 0, I want to call 4 trains, but I'm not going there. I could just go halvesies, but right now this works. It gets it a little too low. I'd rather keep it topped off, but I haven't reached high performance yet, so I'm not too worried about it. So now I'm done here. So now I can update this, and then the fuel train will be updated. And then this whole thing is done, right? That's the pipes.